Good morning from Bali. I'm at the World Midwives Conference and I'm delighted to have these important midwifery conversations with you. I'm here with Vijaya, who I've been in contact with from the Sanctum Birth Centre in India over the last few years. I'm so excited to share her insights with you today. So good morning, Vijaya. It's so nice to meet you.
So nice to meet you, Maeve.
Finally, after all these years, because we've been in contact a lot, haven't we?
Yes.
And I'm so excited to talk to you about your birth centre because I'm so impressed. You're on Instagram, you're sharing all your wisdom, your knowledge all the time.
Thank you, and likewise, it's lovely to meet you. And I'm following all the work that you're doing and educating in the UAE. I know it's like really good, and I've been following all your work. It's wonderful to meet you in person.
It's brilliant, and these events, the World Midwives, is such a brilliant conference as well to have that opportunity. So can you tell me about your career pathway and how you actually became a midwife? Because in India it's not straightforward, right? It's quite a new profession.
It is absolutely not straightforward. So actually, like a lot of us, I think my pathway started after the birth of my children, and we were in the US at that time, and I started with Lamaze. I became a Lamaze educator, started teaching classes, then we relocated to India, and in India at that time, I'm talking of 2005, there was literally nothing in terms of the professional midwifery that we know as across the world and as we talk about today, right? So I started teaching families, and then over a course of a couple of years, people started asking, where can we get this kind of kid birth, right? So I partnered with my obstetrician, Dr. Jayanti, and we started doing I started teaching inside of her hospital, though I was completely independent. That was one thing I was very clear that I wanted to teach independent classes, not within a hospital system. But then when parents started asking, people would go to, we would say, okay, maybe we can translate some of these steps, maybe we can translate some of what we are learning here, and people would actually land up going under her care as an obstetrician, and I would actually work alongside as a doula, right? You're just observing, and it's really hard to get into a system and say my way or the highway, right? So just observing, watching, and then eventually a year and a half later, people were still not getting the kind of care that was really what we were talking about. So we were really not walking the talk as much as we could. And so again, we met, and over a period of time, we landed up, I landed up renting a room from her, like one room inside of her hospital. And we started as a sanctum inside of JJ. So that was our journey, one room. And for the first 3 years, we did not even have a board saying that we were there. But women are crafty that way.
Exactly, where there's a will, there is a way. It will come from the women, isn't it?
Exactly. I think as midwives, we always say this, right? I think when the consumer, who is the mom, who is the family, demands it, I think some things do progress. And this was 2008, and still professional midwifery in India was nothing, no mention of professional midwifery. So the safety net for the women, and being in a country like India where transportation can become a problem, where, in case of an emergency, you might land up not having the ability to, get the woman into a safety net of a care provider who is willing to be a backup. This was a beautiful way because we learned the system. We worked we were inside the hospital, one floor down, there was an operating theater. Dr. Jayanti was my backup. Lots of learnings, and then things became, so basically from there on, I decided that, okay, what do we do now for licensure, right? So that time again, India didn't have licensure. I landed up talking to the midwifery school, the National College of Midwifery in the US. We made our birth center a clinical site.
Amazing.
And the midwives who would come from abroad and work there landed up being my clinical preceptors. So I landed up doing my entire schooling, being the receptionist, being the midwife, being the doula, being everything. Yes, so it was actually a very, very intense journey. My husband was very much in support of it, so we literally put everything in to start this center. It was intense.
Yeah, and I would just say to you, from what I'm seeing, what I'm learning from all of these conversations is that every midwife is a leader. You don't have to have a PhD, you don't have to have a master's, you don't have to have anything different. Right. You have the same experience, the same qualification as any midwife around the world. So if you're a midwife in any country and you have the will and the desire to serve your women, and women are looking for a service, then we should advocate for women and empower them, right?
Absolutely.
This is what I'm seeing from you.
Absolutely. And I think Jenny Joseph says this, that what unites all of us is love, compassion and leadership. I think that's what, as uniting factors as midwives, wherever we are, we tend to work through that. So yeah, it's been a long journey.
It's a brave journey as well, isn't it? Because I mean, you've faced many challenges. I'm sure
100%.
that sounds like a beautiful story, and it's all very rosy,
100%. No. It was like
challenging.
even to explain to the families who is a midwife.
Yes.
Right? That starts the conversation, because they have no idea who is a midwife. But I think here's the fun part of this all. They wanted the care, they wanted the respect, they wanted the dignity, they wanted the information that we provided, and it became just a reality that they came to us, And again, I always say this, we were inside of a hospital, but women would find us and women would find my partner, and we worked together. And 2016, after 8 years, we went into our own freestanding birth center, where Dr. Jayanti, my partner, still provides backup services. But now I have young obstetricians who want to come and learn.
That's amazing.
Which is so, I think that's the way, because in a country where you don't have the professional midwifery, it's very much starting up in the last couple of years, and those are also nurse midwives, because that's the only pathway that's being provided, right? Being trained to scale up and trained to have a bridge program. I think what we are upholding is the true midwifery model of care, because yes, midwives work in every place, wherever they are. We heard some beautiful presentations in the plenary session this morning, and my God, I was in tears. But at the end of the day, if there is no autonomy, and Dr. Natalie Khanam was saying what women want and what midwives want is the same. If you don't have the autonomy, if you don't have the choice, if you don't have informed consent, real informed consent, if you don't have the ability to make your pathway towards what's an enormous life journey, then we are literally decimating midwifery, and I don't want that. So that's what we are standing up for.
Yeah, it's an amazing career, isn't it? I couldn't recommend it enough to anyone. If you're considering studying midwifery, it really is. It's a lifelong career, isn't it?
It is, and it's a commitment to. It's a commitment to whatever you've chosen. There's so many sacrifices, like you know it. It's along the way. We don't have birthdays and families, and we are last minute running here and there. My boys have grown up around the dinner table hearing placenta and birth and breastfeeding.
It's part of our everyday life.
Exactly.
There's no boundary, I suppose. Yeah.
No, and the on-call phone's always on.
Yes.
So, but it is also beautiful, because in my state, in the private hospitals right now, and it's really bad statistic, we have 78 to 80% cesarean rates.
Wow.
Public hospitals 45 to 50, a cumulative of 60%. So at the least 6 out of 10 women are getting a cesarean. At the most it's 85 to 90%. So it is frightening. It also means we have to do a lot of VBACs, which comes, the only risk most women come to us with is the fact that they've had a previous cesarean, and it is exhausting work, because they come with trauma, the internal trauma of being told your body doesn't work, and the family saying, well, you had the cesarean the first time, you have to have the cesarean again. It's just so much to drill down, get them to get into their body and to have that VBAC, and then say, I did it. I think we all do it because of that.
And from watching you, I see that you have like this spiritual dimension as well. To midwifery, you do sort of really connect and help women to find meaning in their births.
Yes, and I think it's important to most of us, isn't it, Maeve?
Yeah.
Because without that, we would be robots. We would be doing, like, anyone with 2 hands can really help birth a baby if the birth's going well. But to stand witness to that journey that the woman and her family are going through. Very recently we had a birth, and she had 5 days of prom. So we have our protocols, and we were observing, making sure that there was no infection setting in, and so on and so forth.
Prolonged rupture of membranes.
Prolonged rupture of membranes, yes, full term, and everything went great. She had her baby. It was intense towards the end. Her husband stands there and says, sing the song. And she started singing. It was their baby song, and it was so amazing. We were 4 of us in the room, but we were practically woodwork. There was no way anyone was going to talk or interrupt, and I had tears in my eyes, and yeah, it's like those moments are the ones that make you what you are. And then, so she had all that, then the placenta was born. We usually wait for complete delayed cord clamping. Most of the time it is like the placenta comes out. We don't necessarily tamper with any of those things. But she wrote a gratitude note. And she said in that note, when I started singing, there were 5 of you in the room, but I did not, me, my baby, and my husband never felt that there was anyone there except us as a family. And that's what I think, that's what we need to honor as midwives.
That's very nice. Okay, so I want to talk to you about the health promotion work that you do, which it is what you do on the Sanctum Birth Centre, because like you said, if there's 60 to 80% cesarean section rate in India, you need to spread the word, you need to show the world what you're doing, and you do that because I love the videos that you share. You share really useful and beautiful videos of what's happening in your birth centre, and I often share them with our students. And actually sometimes that can be a difficult thing to show people if they're not used to seeing it, you know. And you're very brave to share those images, and those women are very kind to share and generous to share their experiences. But it's really important that the world sees and witnesses and is exposed to.
Yeah, and especially as a culture too, right? Because as a culture, reproductive language even is not there. As in whatever education that you get, whether it is sexual education or reproductive education, is bare minimum when you look at it across the community. There is a sort of shame in being there over the course of years. Even partners were never thought to be a part of the birth room because this is a woman's work to do. And I do understand it. Like, I think there is a beauty in the woman taking responsibility of her body and saying it's her work to do. But there is also that, like Ina May Gaskin says, right, when a man sees a woman giving birth to his child, it changes him forever. And we need to have these conversations. We need to have birth stories be a part of our larger community stories, you know, so that I feel like when we have one woman have a wonderful positive birth experience, she will influence 10 other women in her community, and that's the ripple effect that we are trying to do. We are a small center, we don't do huge volumes, but I think that's the community change. Like, I had a good birth instead of I was on the table 48 hours, I had an induction, there was a cord around the neck, and oh, the doctor, by the way, saved my baby, and it was never meant to be saved in the first place. Now, I'm not saying doctors are bad people. They are. In my center, we have the option of having a C-section, right? I have had a first cesarean myself, and that was a true emergency C-section. So cesarean saved lives, right? And I had a VBAC, but when I went in for the VBAC, I was not standing on one leg saying I need a normal delivery. All I said was I want a chance to feel what labor feels like. As a woman, I want to know what labor feels like. And that was my only motive, right? So I think when we look at what we are providing women, why we are providing the opportunity for them to blossom into their own, to come out and say, like, I feel I can do anything. And I've seen those changes. Women who will not talk at all in 9 months except for saying yes or no, now are talking and writing birth stories. How cool is that?
It's cool.
You know?
It's cool.
It is so cool. And like you said, I'm really grateful for them to open up, talk about their births, have their pictures put up on social media. Even water birth, like we have only the Western, pool and candles and women giving birth in the water. There is no brown context to it. And when we put up those videos, I think that makes people feel it is me, I could be that.
So good. It's so positive, and it's just brilliant and inspiring to see. And I think social media is something that we can harness to share the role of the midwife, to have it better understood, and as a profession to really to strengthen midwifery and promote it, especially in countries where it's not understood, like India, like the UAE.
Yes.
Because we do work autonomously, we work in collaboration with doctors, because every woman needs a midwife, and some women need doctors too.
That's it. That's exactly correct.
So finally, Vijaya, I'd just like to ask you, because obviously you've been at the ICM now for the last couple of days. We've seen many inspirational presentations at the conference, and I wondered if you had any imparted knowledge to leave with any midwives who are watching this now, any inspirational words?
Oh, there have been so many presentations where it's been just amazing. I think the opening session was amazing. Hearing to Natalie Canham talking about peace being the baseline for the work that we do. How powerful was that? And then, of course, Franca Caddy talking about the pinard and how it relates to power in the midwifery world, and that was amazing. And yesterday I attended the session where there was the WHO was presenting about maternal mortality and how there is so much work that needs to be done. And you hear those numbers and you're like, oh my God, we are still in our silos doing the best that we can, but women are dying every single day, and midwives are needed across the world. And there is still like 1 million midwives short across the world. So I think for anyone who is listening and anyone, I am inspired obviously by all the sessions, but for anyone who is just starting out in their journey, I would say you're doing amazing work. You're doing the work of the heart and soul, and I would say that we are all in it together.
Thank you so much. It's been lovely. So enjoy the rest of the conference.
Thank you, Maeve, and you too.
Bye.